My name is Emily Grace Thompson, a 38-year-old middle school teacher from Aspen, Colorado. I'm here to share the extraordinary story of what I experienced during a near-death encounter and how Jesus revealed the profound truth about prayer. I witnessed how even a single heartfelt prayer could obliterate demonic barriers and why the forces of darkness fight relentlessly to keep us from praying. It all started on the morning of November 5th, 2022, when I was declared clinically dead for 29 minutes and 14 seconds at Rocky Mountain Medical Center. The day began like any crisp autumn morning in Colorado, with golden leaves covering the ground and a chill in the air. After finishing my second period class with my seventh graders, I was heading to the staff room for a coffee break. I felt lightheaded, assuming it was because I hadn't eaten much breakfast. While walking down the hallway, I noticed the overhead lights flickering unusually, and a heavy pressure spread across my chest. Later, I learned it was a severe cardiac arrest caused by an undiagnosed heart condition. The school's nurse told me afterward that I collapsed near room 102, my skin pale as my body struggled for oxygen. Ms. Harper, my coworker, discovered me and immediately called for help while performing CPR. My last memory before everything changed was the sensation of the cold tiles under me and faint voices of students echoing from a nearby classroom. Then, suddenly, I was no longer aware of my physical surroundings. It felt like I had been transported to a completely different dimension, one far beyond human comprehension. Unlike the tunnel of light that many describe, this place felt timeless, boundless, and overflowing with peace. The first thing I noticed was the total absence of pain or discomfort. The heaviness in my chest vanished, replaced by an overwhelming sense of tranquility. It was as though I was enveloped in an indescribable warmth, a love so complete that earthly words fall short. The very air around me pulsed with an unearthly energy, one that carried both life and meaning. Then I heard a voice that was both commanding and tender, filled with infinite authority and compassion. Emily. Jesus called me by name, and in that single utterance, I understood more about him than years of sermons and Bible lessons had ever taught me. His presence was simultaneously majestic and personal. He didn't resemble the traditional depictions in artwork. His brilliance and glory defied any human representation. His form radiated an indescribable light, not blinding, but one that seemed to illuminate my soul. "My child," he said gently, "I brought you here to show you truths your earthly eyes couldn't see. What I reveal today will not only transform your life, but also the lives of those who hear your story." Instantly, I was shown glimpses of my life, each one imbued with a spiritual depth I had never perceived. I saw myself during moments of prayer, from childhood nighttime prayers to recent cries for help in difficult times. What followed left me in awe. Each prayer, no matter how small, altered the spiritual realm. I saw shadowy, dark figures, demons, that had entrenched themselves in different aspects of my life. These demonic forces had constructed what appeared to be spiritual fortresses, representing areas where they had gained influence. But as I prayed, even simple phrases like "in Jesus' name" caused visible cracks in their strongholds. These words, spoken in faith, sent shockwaves through the spiritual realm. Jesus then revealed the strategies demons employed to deter me from prayer. I saw how they intensified my fatigue after long work days, making it harder to pray in the evenings. They flooded my mind with worries about grading and lesson plans during moments I intended to pray. Even my phone, buzzing with notifications, was a tool they used to disrupt my focus. "Look closely," Jesus said. He showed me an evening where I pushed past exhaustion and prayed anyway. In the spiritual dimension, my prayers struck like 1,000 hammers, dismantling the enemy's schemes with precision. I witnessed how one prayer for my students destroyed years of fear and anxiety that demons had been weaving into their lives. Jesus also showed me how prayers for my husband, Ethan, brought down subtle spiritual barriers that had been fostering distance between us. In moments when I had skipped prayer, there was no condemnation, only Jesus patiently waiting, like a loving mentor who knew I'd eventually return. "Emily," he explained, "prayer is not mere words. Watch what it truly does." I then saw another recent prayer session. In this vision, each word I spoke was like a blazing sword, piercing through darkness. Demonic forces scattered in terror, not because of me, but because of the authority of Jesus invoked through my prayer. I saw demons convening in emergency meetings to devise new strategies whenever I persisted in prayer. They dreaded believers who fully grasped the immense power of prayer and refused to be distracted from it. Now, do you see why they fight so hard to stop you from praying? Jesus asked, "One prayer in faith does more damage to their kingdom than 1,000 other efforts." He revealed that specific demons were assigned tasks like creating distractions, inducing exhaustion, or fostering doubt in the effectiveness of prayer. Yet he also showed me the angels stationed around those who live prayerful lives, ready to act at the command of God. As I observed, I understood that prayer's impact wasn't bound by time. I saw the lasting effects of prayers from my late grandmother still protecting my family today. Jesus reminded me, it's not about the length or eloquence of your prayers. It's the faith behind them that moves mountains. When my time in this realm ended, Jesus left me with one final charge. Tell them what you've seen. Remind them that every prayer, no matter how small or weak it may seem, is a weapon against darkness. I returned to my body, regaining consciousness in the hospital as doctors and nurses worked frantically around me. The harsh fluorescent lights above me came into focus, and I felt the weight of their hands checking my vitals, adjusting monitors, and whispering hurried instructions to one another. When my eyes opened fully, the room grew quiet. I could see the relief in their faces, and though I couldn't speak immediately, I could sense the magnitude of what had just happened. Later, the attending physician explained that they had been moments away from declaring me gone. My heart had stopped for an extended period, and by all accounts, I should have suffered severe brain damage due to the lack of oxygen. Yet, here I was, alert, fully aware, and without any of the complications they had anticipated. The medical staff called it a miracle, shaking their heads in disbelief. But deep down, I understood. This wasn't just a miracle, it was a divine calling. God had spared me for a purpose, and I was determined to fulfill it. As I lay there, recovering, I began to reflect on everything Jesus had shown me. The veil between the physical and spiritual realms had been lifted, and I could never look at the world the same way again. The spiritual battles I had witnessed, the power of prayer I had experienced, it all felt so vivid and urgent. I realized that prayer wasn't just an act of devotion. It was an act of war against the kingdom of darkness. It was a bridge connecting our human frailty to the infinite power of God. When I was discharged from the hospital, I returned to my daily life, but I was not the same person. My perspective on everything had shifted. Prayer was no longer a routine or an obligation. It had become my lifeline, my weapon, and my greatest source of hope. Each morning, before my students arrive, I walk through my classroom, praying over every desk and asking for God's protection and guidance for each child. I pray for their families, their struggles, and their futures. Though I can't openly pray with them in the classroom due to school policies, I encourage them to take moments of quiet reflection and to seek comfort in their own way. Over time, I've seen a remarkable transformation in their attitudes, behavior, and overall well-being. At home, my marriage to Ethan has deepened in ways I never imagined. Prayer has become the foundation of our relationship, a safe haven where we bring our fears, joys, and challenges before God together. We've seen healing in areas we didn't even realize were broken, and our bond has grown stronger with each passing day. Our children, Lily and Ben, are also beginning to understand the power of prayer. I've seen Lily, at just 10 years old, whisper a prayer of comfort over her younger brother after he had a nightmare, and Ben, at 7, confidently thank God for small blessings in his day. Watching their innocent faith blossom fills my heart with gratitude and hope for the next generation. The spiritual resistance I face is still present. Distractions, doubts, and weariness often try to creep in, but I now recognize these for what they are: attempts by the enemy to undermine my prayers. When I feel too tired to pray or too overwhelmed to focus, I remember the vision Jesus showed me of the spiritual impact of even the simplest, shortest prayer. I think about how demons scatter at the mere mention of his name, how strongholds crumble when I declare his authority, and how angels stand ready to act when prayers ascend to heaven. I urge you to take this testimony to heart. Prayer is not a small thing. It is not insignificant, and it is never wasted. The enemy will try to make you believe otherwise, to distract you with the busyness of life, to weigh you down with feelings of inadequacy, or to convince you that your words don't matter. But know this: every prayer, no matter how small or imperfect it may seem, carries the weight of heaven behind it. Every prayer shifts the spiritual atmosphere. Every prayer unleashes God's power to transform situations, break chains, and heal hearts. Remember, the authority Jesus gave us through prayer is unmatched. It's a direct line to the throne room of heaven, where our Creator waits to hear from us. It's not about the length of the prayer or the eloquence of the words. It's about the sincerity and faith behind them. Even a whispered "Jesus, help me" in a moment of despair sends ripples through the spiritual realm. So I ask you, will you commit to prayer? Will you choose to fight through the distractions, the doubts, and the resistance to claim the victory that God has already promised? Will you trust that every prayer, whether spoken in joy, desperation, or quiet faith, matters more than you can imagine? The enemy trembles when you pray. He knows the power you wield through prayer, and he will do everything he can to keep you from using it. But now you know the truth. You have been equipped with the same authority that Jesus showed me, the same power that shakes the gates of hell. Use it boldly, fearlessly, and persistently, knowing that the kingdom of darkness cannot withstand it. Let this testimony be a reminder to you. Prayer is not just something you do, it's who you are as a child of God. You are a warrior, equipped and called to stand in the gap for your family, your friends, your community, and even strangers. Every time you pray, you are partnering with heaven to bring light into the darkest places. And with every prayer, you are fulfilling your divine purpose. The choice is yours. Will you pray? Will you rise up and take hold of the weapon God has placed in your hands? The kingdom of heaven is waiting, and the enemy is trembling. Let the power of your prayers change the world, starting today.